Welcome to Unscripted Coding. Today we're going to talk all about GPTs. I'm going to show you exactly how to build your own, and more specifically, how to build your own with API access, which are the most powerful functions available to GPTs, in my opinion. Now, I've said GPTs a few times already. These are the new customized AI chatbots that OpenAI is rolling out. You're all familiar with ChatGPT, which is this AI chatbot that you can ask questions to, they can do things, they can rewrite your emails, your reports, summarize documents. It can do all sorts of things. But you started hearing about these prompt engineers that could get more mileage out of ChatGPT, not just, writing emails, summarizing documents, but you're having prompts that are saying, you're a lawyer, draft a contract, be professional, do all of these things, and unlock more and more powers for ChatGPT. Now, your average user hasn't quite gotten it down, so GPTs is the ability for you to customize ChatGPT. And OpenAI is pushing this as their future app store, where there's going to be monetization, there's going to be sales, and this is going to be the future of applications. I don't know if I buy that, but I think there's a lot of power. If you look at what OpenAI has available in terms of GPTs, you have, of course, ChatGPT Classic, just an AI chatbot that you can have a conversation with. But you also have different variants. So if you think about Creative Writing Coach, it's a very basic prompt. I'm writing a novel, I'm writing writing something fiction. Please help me out. Very simple. But if you move to something like Game Time, which explains board game rules to you, it must have a database of PDFs and Word documents of all the instructions of a lot of different games. And then you're going to get more and more sophisticated, like data analysis, that you can analyze Excel files and spreadsheets. You have DALL-E, which can generate images on the fly. You're getting more and more powerful. So I see a lot of skepticism with GPTs, these future apps based on chatbots, and I agree to a certain extent, but they are not as simple as just prompts as we're going to show today. You can actually get quite sophisticated. So I'm going to show you really quickly what we're building out, because it took me a while to actually figure out how to do this. But in this API test, and it's going to be the same one we're building today, I'm going to ask, can you tell me about the Pokemon Pikachu? And what it's going to do is actually going to an API, so some third-party server that's crunching the data and generating some information for us, and then it's getting an answer back. And all of this looks very accurate. Pikachu is a Pokemon. It's an electric-type Pokemon. Hopefully we all know that, but has two main abilities, Static and Lightning Rod. That all seems accurate to me. And what you're seeing is that it is it's going online and finding information. It's not just reaching into its bag of tricks. And I've done this API test with a couple other APIs, and you start getting functions like being able to get color palettes, being able to fetch photos, getting information that is up to date to the minute, so stocks, cryptocurrency, things like that. Okay, I have talked a lot, and if you still don't really grasp what GPTs are, go to my video last week. We did a basic GPT bot that we uploaded files to and did a simple prompt, but today is, GPT advanced. So we're going to start by creating a brand new GPT. And I started using this GPT builder, which is pretty awesome, actually. You can just ask it to start building things. And if you're doing one of these prompt-based ones, it's not bad. If you're doing the creative writer, please help me out. I am writing a novel. It's not bad. It doesn't do anything with APIs or upload files, but let's start this. You are a GPT that gives more information about a Pokemon when named, and you will be fetching this information from an API. And it's going to start updating the GPT. It's going to start generating. We're not going to do everything, but it will generate. It will use Dolly to generate an image for you, so you have a nice icon instead of this one. That's a good name, Pokédex Pro. And it's going to change, and now it's going to generate the profile picture. So it's a really quick, easy way to get started. It gives you a description, gives you a couple starting points, and this image is a bit busy for me, but sure, this looks fine. Let's leave it alone. Ta-da! And then it starts asking you more questions, but let's start doing our own work. Pokédex Pro. I like the name. And there we have it. So very, very basic level, what we did last time is we have our name, description, instructions, conversation starters. That's these buttons to just start the GPT off. We can upload files for a knowledge base, but Pokemon, it doesn't really make sense. And then we have a couple built-in capabilities. I always like web browsing. Giving GPT access to the internet always makes it better, in my opinion. Very few reasons not to have it. But today we're going to look at create new actions. This is really, really, really difficult because OpenAI doesn't have a set of clear documentations, and it looks like they recently changed their schema as well, just to mess with you. So they have a couple examples here. I'm going to start with the weather one. And you're going to see that there's an action available, and we can have multiple actions. So we can have location, and then we might do something based on coordinates or whatever is available at this example API. But let's take a look at this. I'll zoom in and move in here. We have some of this header meta info. You could change it to whatever you want. This is the schema version. You don't want to touch that. But the basic info you do. So here, let's go get Pokemon information. Retrieves information about a Pokemon, a named Pokemon. And you can put in a version number. This is barely final, so let's put 0.02. Now, we're going to look at a bunch of different servers. And again, a reminder, there are so many APIs. Now, Pokemon just comes up as a very clean, well-documented one, Poke API. But if you go down the list, we could start asking about cocktails. So get me information based on a named cocktail. NBA stats, movies, NBA, video games, all sorts of things that you can do. And basically, APIs are these interfaces that you can reach through the internet. Now, Pokemon seems very simple. I ask about Pikachu, the server on the other side is going to reach down into what they have, pull out the information, and serve it back to you. But they can actually transform quite a bit more. So maybe Shazam is a good example. You're sending some audio data over to Shazam through an API. Their server isn't just retrieving information. It might clean up your audio. It might convert it to a standard format, do all of these calculations, and then find some information and send it back. So in theory, you have so much you can do. So if you create your own API, which again, you can reach in to see other videos I've done, we've created APIs in the past, you can crunch a lot of data. So I could send this massive data set over to my server, and the server will, I don't know, create a machine learning model out of it, and then send some basic information back. So some weights, or maybe some response, or some answers. And then you can have some very basic ones like COVID-19 statistics. Maybe they are updating every single day or every single minute and getting very real-time information. So sky's the limit. There are millions and millions of APIs, paid and free, that you can play around with. But I've chosen Poke API just, again, because it's easy to use. We all know what Pokemon are, and it's very well documented. So let's come back here. Actually, let's come here, and we're going to look at Pokemon. If I go down and look at what we can do here, I am going to just look at Pokemon here, and they have a base API address. And then we have a number of different options here. We can ask about Pokemon, but we could ask about, say, abilities. And I should zoom in again. Depending on the URL, they have it very structured and organized. So v2/ability, and then you can name an ability. You can name a Pokemon and get a list of abilities here. If we go into Pokemon, just generally, it's going to give us some information about the Pokemon. Here, we're going to go down, and server, we're going to give that base URL here. And the first one we're going to mess with is Pokemon. And in this case, it is a get as opposed to post command. So we want to get information rather than send information to the API. And we're going to get basic information about a Pokemon. Get Pokemon. These are for us. It's not required for the API, but this one is for us. And then now we have the parameters. This is what we need to send to the API. And this is where it's very difficult. I'll leave a link below, but Swagger has a good set of what OpenAI schema can do. This is 3.0, we're using 3.1, but you could have different types of parameters. So in this case, everything in Pokemon AI is just path parameters, meaning it's right in the URL. But you could instead have query parameters, or you can send data in the body of your request. So there are multiple ways that you can do it. And it was very difficult for me to figure out what this was all asking because, again, OpenAI doesn't have great documentation. But in this case, it's not a query parameter. This is a path parameter, and the name is Pokemon. So the Pokemon we want to retrieve information for. Required, in this case, true, what else are we asking? And then it is a string. So in theory, we could start building this out further because it does accept ID, so you can use an integer instead and say, I don't know what Pikachu was, number 25 maybe? Okay, so this is how it currently looks, and we can have multiple actions, of course. And authentication, so if you have a paid API, if you have some login information, add that in. Privacy policy, they might have one. Let's not worry about the compliance issues yet. Let's just say, tell me about Pikachu. Now, the chatbot will warn the user that it's going to an API. Again, APIs might be two-way. Right now, we're sending tell me about Pikachu. Not very sensitive, but you could potentially send something quite sensitive to off to somewhere. So I could say my birthday is a certain date and my name is a certain date, my age, sensitive. Oh no, I'm currently experiencing difficulties. So what is happening here? Parameters. This is a path parameter. Pokemon. I am not sure what the issue is. Did I get this wrong? API v2 Pokemon and then ID or name. Oh, it should be name. So it's confused because I gave it Pokemon instead of name. And let me just see. API v2 Pokemon. That all looks right. Let's try this one more time. It's going to give us a warning again. Always allow. Response received. Oh no. Get Pokemon parameters. Pikachu. Okay. Let me take a look here. Pokemon Pikachu. Make sure that it is actually working. And it is. So I'm going to look at this and see if we screwed up anywhere. Require true string. Okay. I think, oh, that's not true either. But for whatever reason, Squirtle seems to have worked. It got a okay response, status code 200, and we're able to get this information for us. So I wonder why that is. And then we can continue going down. So right now, we have gotten one simple endpoint, but if we decide to do another one based on ability, we can create one more over here. So I will put another one, and ability, get base abilities information about a Pokemon. The abilities of the Pokemon we want to retrieve information for, and I believe everything is the same. Name, again, we could optionally put ID number, but we won't, and that's fine. So now we have two available options, and let's check out what are Bulbasaur's abilities. We got a response. We got a couple different endpoints. So it's giving us a list of Pokemon. And it actually tried multiple times to do so. And it's telling us that it has difficulty reaching out. So let me get Pokemon ability. So maybe it wasn't sure which one of these actions to go after. Ability, and it is get as well. Again, good documentation, really important. This is in the path, name, abilities. All right, let's try this one more time. Let's say, what are Charmander's abilities? And the interesting thing is, even with this error, we were getting some response. And we're getting some response. So we know it's reaching the API. What we're having trouble with, and what is really difficult for all of this, is that we aren't sending the right parameters. Oh, in this case, we are. So excellent. We have Charmander, 2 primary abilities, blah, 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 blah. And then tell me a bit about Ditto. And so hopefully this time we went with the get Pokemon action. And so now we have 2 actions, and then we could keep going down this list. And also, alternatively, we could actually go with more than one server, reaching different APIs. So maybe I want Pokemon and some other thing. So maybe some API that does machine learning. We'll get information about the Pokemon. Somehow, maybe get color palettes. So I think somewhere down here there were colors. So we could get the Pokemon colors. I don't know what this is, but let's say we get yellow for Pikachu. We might then send it to a separate API. I'm thinking colors, which I was using before, and say what goes well with yellow. And it spits out, I don't know what actually goes well with yellow, black and orange maybe. So you could connect to multiple APIs and start building more and more sophisticated ones. And of course, you can build your own API. So once we get this information, maybe you have another API that you built yourself that tells funny jokes about Pokemon, that writes poetry about Pokemon. So you say, I want a poem about Pikachu, get some basic information from this Poke API, then send it to an API you built that generates poetry about Charmander and his abilities. So what I wanted to say is that GPT can get quite sophisticated. If you start pairing all of these things together so that you have a knowledge base, you give it very detailed instructions about get name first, then get information, then generate an image with DALL-E, then send to a separate API, then generate poetry, blah, 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 blah. You can have multi-step instructions reaching out to multiple abilities within this app. Anyways, I think I'm going to stop there. You can see that just the possibilities that you can go about with GPTs, but we've demonstrated the basic how to use this page. So I hope you find that useful, and maybe in our next video, once I get a better hang of all of these APIs, I could build something more sophisticated than a glorified Pokédex. So I will see you next week, and if you enjoyed this video, subscribe, like the video. This will always help up the view counts for me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.